Mr. Smith, would you please stand for the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Councilman Fitzgerald.
Let us pray. Father, we come before you this evening hoping to receive insight and foresight through you. Let us make decisions that are in the center of your will for the good of St. Tammany Parish, which we love. Thank you for the opportunity to live here. Thank you for the opportunity that we can govern how we live here. Let us make good decisions this evening. In your name, amen.
Amen. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Dean? Here. Mr. Fitzgerald? Here. Ms. Casabon? Here. Mr. Lorino? Here. Mr. Taladano? Here. Ms. Tanner?
Here.
Mr. Davis?
Here.
Mr. Canulet?
Here.
Mr. Smith?
Here.
Ms. O'Brien?
Here.
Mr. Lachlan?
Here.
Mr. Bender?
Here.
Mr. Airy?
Here.
And Mr. Randolph?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Public comment. A 3-minute time limit is established for each member of the public wishing to speak for or against an item on the agenda, except appeals. To ensure that all speakers are heard, please hold cheers and applause. Anyone who wishes to place a comment in the record but who does not wish to speak at the podium may fill out a speaker card and check the box indicating they do not wish to speak. And if you do wish to speak, please indicate so on the speaker card as well. So now we go to presentations. Our first item, the presentation by the St. Tammany Parish Clerk of Court, Melissa Henry, regarding a new property fraud alert system, I think as well as an amnesty program too. Madam Clerk.
Good evening, everyone. Tonight, I'd like to share with you 2 programs that have been launched in the clerk's office. The first one I'd like to talk to you about is a fraud alert program. And probably by now, you've all heard about title fraud, how people's homes and property are being fraudulently transferred out of their name, the equity taken out, and how that I came about implementing this program. A group out of Slidell reached out to me back in October and said, Melissa, can you come and talk to us about this title fraud that we're hearing a lot about? And so I started doing some research, and within a matter of a few days, I received a letter in the mail from another lady expressing her concerns and fears around the same topic. But when she ended her letter, she said, Melissa, what are you going to do about this? And I'm like, well, I don't know. Let me see. So I started really diving deep in doing the research, and I wanted to know how this was happening and who was being targeted. And just like anything that's fraud related, they're targeting our seniors. They're targeting individuals that have a lot of equity in their home. They're targeting individuals who own multiple properties, and they're targeting individuals that own vacant property. Now, you may have seen on the news, probably the end of February, the beginning of March, it was on the news where this happened to a gentleman in New Orleans. And he had a lot, and a neighbor to the lot reached out to him and said, I didn't know you were selling your property. He goes, I'm not. And he goes, well, buddy, I'm looking at a for sale sign. And that's when he realized that someone had fraudulently transferred the property into someone else's name. And in the course of doing the research, there was a gentleman, and I use that word very sparingly, in Florida, who was a loan officer. And he would go into homeless shelters and pose as a government official. And he would pay people $20 to do a survey. And he would get their name, their last known address, their mother's maiden name, the date of birth, and their social, and pay him $20. He would go back to his office, he would run their credit, and when he would come across someone that had good credit, he would create a fake ID, and he would go and lease a piece of property that he already had scoped out, move into it, and after he got settled, he would cancel the title, and then he would transfer the ownership into that fake ID's name, and whether it was reselling it or just doing a home equity line of credit. He made his way all the way up the Florida coast. By the time they caught him, he was in one of the Carolinas, and he got away with $4.3 million. So I contacted my IT department and I said, guys, I want to know if you can create an alert. And I want it as simple as putting in Melissa Henry and my address. And from that point forward, anything that gets recorded in mortgage and or conveyance, I want to receive an alert. Can you do it? And they sat there for a second. They said, yes, I think so. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we launched this back in December, and this is free to our citizens here in St. Tammany. All you have to do is either scan the QR code on this or go to our website, and you're going to create an account. You put in your first name, your last name, your address, your email address, and create a password. It's going to prompt you to log back in. And when you do so, that's when you're going to add the additional alerts. You're going to add your spouse's name. You're going to add any other property that you may own. You can add as many names to your account and as many property addresses to your account. I'm encouraging people to add their elderly parents' names to their accounts, so you'll receive their alerts. If you have elderly relatives, add them to your account as well. I'm also asking people to look at your closing package when you purchased your home and see what type of title policy you purchased. If you purchase an owner's enhanced version, now it covers a lot of different features in that title policy, but one of the features is it covers post-closing forgery. So if something gets recorded or something fraudulently takes place on your property, you call the number on your title policy, and they're going to jump in to represent you. Other than that, you're going to have to hire an attorney to mitigate this for you. This isn't going to prevent the fraud, ladies and gentlemen, but it's going to give you the alert as soon as the document gets recorded and we process it. Now, there's companies out there that are marketing, a title insurance policy. And it's on the news, it's on the radio, they're doing robocalls. And what bothers me with this is that their marketing tactic is a fear strong-arm platform. And they're telling people, if you don't buy my product, you're going to lose your home. So after I got this program up and running, I went back to that group in Slidell to present it to them and help them all sign up for it. And there was a lady in the front row, and she was making faces the whole time I was talking. And she finally raised her hand, and she said, Melissa, you mean to tell me the $300 I just spent, you're giving to me for free? I said, yes, ma'am. I'm excited about this. I'm the first clerk in the state to take the initiative on this. I shared it with Jefferson Parish. They were able to set up their fraud alert program in the end of March, I believe it was, and then Bossier Parish launched theirs this week. I'm working with the other parishes to try and set something up similar in their parish to where this is a free service that we can extend to our citizens in the state. Okay? All right. Phase 2. I wanted to share with you a traffic ticket amnesty program that we launched on Monday. And this is a collaboration between the 22nd JDC judges, Judge Han, as well as Mr. Han here, and the DA's office, the sheriff's office, along with the clerk's office. And what it is if you received a traffic ticket between January 1st of 2005 and December 31st of 2022, and during that time period that you did not go to court, you did not pay your fines and fees, and it's almost 100% sure that your driver's license has since been canceled or suspended, and attachment for your arrest, and also all these additional compounded late fees and fines are on top of it. So what this program is going to do is it's going to waive all of the late fees, and we're going to remove the attachment for the arrest if you just come in and pay the original cost of the ticket. So it's very easy. You're going to come to the clerk's office in Covington, and you will and we have a little step-by-step checklist for you. You're going to obtain 2 copies of your ticket. You're going to go to the DA's office. They're going to stamp it, amnesty approve it. You'll go to the sheriff's office, pay it. Once you get your receipts that you paid your fines, then you return back to the clerk's office. We're going to give you a clearance letter that you're going to bring to DMV to have your driver's license reinstated, and we're also going to remove the attachment for your arrest. So this program started May 1st, and it's a 3-month program, and it will end July 31st. So, anything else, Mr. Chair? Okay, all right. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate your time.
Thank you. Presentation of proclamation of St. Tammany Parish Government Employee of the Month. President Cooper.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the council. This evening, I have the honor of presenting not one but 2 proclamations for Employee of the Month. Last month, if you recall, the recipient was unable to attend the meeting, and that is Ms. Sarah Haydell, Employee of the Month for April 2023, and I'm going to present her proclamation first. So, Sarah, would you stand up, please? And I'm going to let you hold that. Whereas Sarah Haydell began her service to St. Tammany Parish in 2012 as a capital asset accountant with the Finance Department, where she has received multiple promotions and currently serves as an accountant too. And whereas Sarah works diligently each day to ensure the parish's finances are efficiently managed and accurately reported through her thorough research and deep knowledge of governmental accounting standards and practices. And whereas Sarah has implemented numerous processes within the Munis system and currently serves as the administrator for the Capital Assets module to ensure our procedures remain efficient and effective at capturing all transactions and inventory. And whereas Sarah works closely with all departments to provide guidance regarding available funding sources, as well as with the preparation of budget packages, ordinances, and change orders to ensure projects and capital expenditures are processed correctly for accurate fiscal reporting. And whereas Sarah is resourceful and meticulous and is fondly known as Eagle Eyes among her co-workers for her attention to detail. She is an all-around outstanding employee who performs her duties in an exemplary manner and is committed to serving the citizens of St. Tammany Parish. Now, therefore, I, Michael B. Cooper, as parish president of this great parish, do hereby recognize the hard work, dedication, and accomplishments of Sarah Haydell as Employee of the Month, April 2023, and encourage all citizens, members of the Parish Council, to thank her for her contributions and commitment to St. Tammany Parish. Congratulations, Sarah. Thank you, Sarah. Congratulations. And this month's Employee of the Month is Lindsay Holliday with the Community Action Agency. And I'm going to ask Lindsay to come up, please. I'm going to ask you to hold that while I read your proclamation. Whereas Lindsay Holliday began her employment with St. Tammany Parish government in 2021 as an administrative assistant with the Community Action Agency of the Health and Human Services Department, where she now serves as an outreach caseworker. And whereas Lindsay interacts daily with community members entering the building and greets everyone with a smile and a positive attitude. And whereas Lindsay always goes above and beyond her required duties to ensure clients have a positive visit to the CAA and even keeps her desk stocked with stickers and coloring activities to keep children occupied and content during appointments. And whereas Lindsay has enthusiastically embraced new learning skills and resources to better serve the underserved and in need within our community, to link them with assistance regarding finances, housing, and many other needs. And whereas Lindsay is a caring and attentive caseworker who is knowledgeable in the services available to provide residents with tools to improve their situations, empower them towards self-sufficiency. And whereas Lindsay is an overall outstanding employee, performs her duties in an exemplary manner, and is dedicated and committed to serving the citizens of St. Tammany Parish. Now therefore I, Michael B. Cooper, as Parish President of St. Tammany Parish, do hereby applaud and recognize the diligence, dedication, and accomplishments of Lindsay Holliday as Employee of the Month for May 2023, and encourage all citizens and our Parish Council members to thank her for her contributions and commitment to St. Tammany Parish. Congratulations, Lindsay. Thank you, Lindsay. Thank you. Two outstanding members of Team Tammany.
Number 3, presentation of proclamation to NAMI, St. Tammany for Mental Health Awareness Month. President Cooper.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I do have a proclamation here acknowledging the month of May as Mental Health Awareness Month. And here to receive the proclamation are Ms. Amy Eberzabel and Ms. Rachel Brumfield, who both serve as at-large board members for NAMI St. Tammany. NAMI, National Alliance on Mental Illness of St. Tammany, is a nonprofit organization that works to educate, advocate, support, and provide resources for members of our community living with mental illness, as well as for their loved ones. NAMI St. Tammany is an important partner on our Safe Haven campus, and I greatly respect and value the important work that they do in our community. So I'll ask Ms. Amy and Ms. Rachel to come up to the podium, and I'm going to provide them with a proclamation. Amy, Rachel, and I'm going to ask that you hold that while I read the. Whereas millions of Americans experience symptoms of mental health condition each year, and number of people seeking care is trending upward. And whereas each May we raise awareness about the importance of mental health conditions and their impact on the well-being of all adults and children affected by anxiety, depression, PTSD, bipolar disorder, schizophrenia, and beyond. And whereas 1 in 5 U.S. adults' lives with a mental illness, including veterans and active military personnel, which will experience a mental health issue each year, with homelessness and suicide, all too often the tragic outcome for those who do not receive adequate mental health services. And whereas mental health is an important part of a person's overall physical health, and any citizen, family, age group, or population in the community of St. Tammany can be at risk of experiencing its impact. And whereas early identification and treatment can make a profound difference in the successful management of mental illness and recovery. And whereas in 1984, NAMI, the National Alliance on Mental Illness, was founded for the purpose of addressing mental health in St. Tammany and surrounding parishes by providing education, advocacy, support, and resources to those in our community. And whereas mental illness is a highly treatable medical condition affecting the brain, requiring the same concern as cancer, heart disease, diabetes, and other illnesses, but because it can equally be life-threatening in nature. And whereas the Parish of St. Tammany recognizes that mental illness is a significant community health issue and encourages initiatives to improve awareness, education, and support and resources for those affected. Now therefore I, Michael B. Cooper, as Parish President of this great parish, do hereby proclaim the month of 2023 to be observed in St. Tammany Parish as Mental Health Awareness Month, and encourage all citizens and our members of our Parish Council to learn more about how they too can get involved to aid our community. Amy, Rachel, you all do a great job in supporting NAMI and serving on that board, and I'm honored to present you with this proclamation.
We appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Would you like to have a few words?
Just a second. NAMI St. Tammany is so grateful to serve a community that is dedicated to providing services for those impacted by mental health issues. And we appreciate Parish President Cooper making this proclamation to help us to raise awareness to those in need. Thank you all.
Thank you. We're going to get a photo too. Thank you.
Number 4, presentation of certificates of recognition to Eagle Scouts across St. Tammany Parish. President Cooper.
Thank you, sir. Again, I have the honor of making a presentation. This is to the Eagle Scouts, various Eagle Scouts across St. Tammany Parish. There are actually 22 who achieved Eagle Scout this year, and I believe we have 7 with us tonight. How many do we have, Dorothy? 2? Would you all come up, please? And Dorothy, would you like to come up, and Dr. Calumet? What is your name, sir? That's you, sir? Yes, sir. And what is your name? Eddie Hemicourt, okay. So, I'm pleased to recognize St. Tammany Parish's dedicated scouts who earned the rank of Eagle Scout this past year. I also want to thank Ms. Dorothy Garcia, the Senior District Executive from the Neshoba District, who helped us coordinate and contact all of the 2022 Eagle Scouts in St. Tammany Parish, including those outside of her district. Earning the rank of Eagle Scout, as Councilman Smith knows, is no easy task, and these young people should be commended for their skills and determination. So of the 22 Scouts, we do have 2 here this evening who have achieved the Eagle Scout, and I'd like to present them with a certificate. And that's Mr. Wesley Guyman, Troop 315 in the Slidell area, and Mr. Edmund DeHemicourt, Troop 310 in the Covington area, Mandeville area. Okay, Mandeville. And Dorothy Garcia and Dr. Kevin Calumet is a district commissioner. So please join me in a round of applause for these future community leaders. I'm confident that they'll continue to achieve the lofty goals that they've set for themselves. Congratulations. Congratulations. Did you all want to say something? Mr. Diamond? Mr. DeHemicourt. And I think we're going to get some photos with you as well.
Councilman Smith, did you want to say something?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll wait till the picture.
Dorothy,
Okay.
Kevin?
No, we're fine. It's all about our.
Okay, so let's get a photo. And please, come join us. Yeah, I know it's proud moments for the parents as well, and family members.
Can I-
Thank you all. Congratulations. Thank you, man.
I just wanted to add one thing. The Eagle Scouts, you guys, could you come back up to the mic for just a second? Okay, so did you guys make it right before you were 18, or? Good, you made it earlier?
Yes, sir.
Good, how about you?
Made it earlier.
Okay, my son made it one day before he was 18. Okay, both of my sons. I had to drive their paperwork over to Metairie. Okay, was there any point when, maybe you didn't think you were going to make it? Okay, who got you through that?
My parents,
Who got you through your doubt?
my mom.
Okay? This award goes to the community and the parents just as much as it does to the scouts, and they deserve a round of applause, too. Thank you. Congratulations.
All right, moving now to appointments. Appointment number 1, resolution to appoint Barry Baggert to replace T.J. Smith Jr., resigned on the Board of Commissioners for the St. Tammany Parish Tourist and Convention Commission. Parish-wide must suspend the rules to appoint. Councilman Smith.
Move to suspend the rules. And appoint.
Can you get a second on that?
Second.
Please vote.
The motion is unanimous with no one absent.
Resolution number 2, resolution to appoint Charles Brandon Harrell to the Board of Commissioners for Recreational District number 11. Ms. Tanner,
Yes, I make a motion to reappoint Mr. Harrell.
second by Mr. Lorino. Please vote.
Mr. Loughlin, what was your vote? The motion is unanimous with no one absent.
I'm not sure if Mr. Harrell is here. Tonight, he's in the middle of graduations. So, thank you very much.
And I think at this point, with the chair will entertain a motion to open the floor for off-the-floor item number 8. Ms. Tanner?
I would like to make a motion to open the off-the-floor agenda for item number 1 and number 8.
Just want to do number 8.
Well, he's here.
Oh, he's here now, okay. Second by Mr. Canulette. Please vote.
The motion is unanimous with no one absent.
Ms. Tanner?
The
Well, I
fir-
read number 1, I guess I got to
Okay.
read it right. Off the floor, number 1, resolution to appoint Shannon Davis to replace Gary Runtaza, resigned on the Board of Commissioners for St. Tammany Parish Fire District number 7. Ms. Tanner?
I would like to make that motion. They're in need of a quorum at sometimes, so.
Second
okay.
by Councilwoman O'Brien. Any further discussion? Please vote. You want them to come up and say anything?
Yes, I think Mr. Davis is here. Mr. Davis, would you like to say a few words?
The motion is unanimous with no one absent.
Sure. A lot of old faces up here tonight. Thank you guys for the appointment. We seem to have a really good fire department. I look forward to helping them any way I can.
Thank you so much.
Thank
All
you.
right.
All right, so we have off the floor, number 8, resolution to acknowledge and confirm the President's appointment of the Director of Homeland Security and Emergency Preparedness. Mr. Lorino,
So move.
get a second. Councilwoman Casabon.
President Cooper, would you like?
And just so we're taking this off the floor because we have upcoming hurricane season, and this is a very important position, and we'd like to have that in place.
And I appreciate that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, members of the council. As many of you know, Clarence Poe has retired after 20 years with St. Tammany Parish government, the last 3.5 years serving as director of that department. It's a well-deserved retirement, and with hurricane season coming, we knew that the vacancy needed to be filled pretty quickly. So when Clarence gave me his notice, I sought out somebody who can move into the director position with the support of his staff and the rest of Team Tammany and directors to be able to move into that position. Mr. Clint Orey from St. Tammany Parish, and I'm going to ask Clint to come up here while I'm saying a few words about you. Clint, as many of you may recognize, and some of you that did not know him had an opportunity to meet him last week or the week before when we had a reception to meet him. Clint has experience as a trained firefighter and over 30 years of extensive experience in emergency response. He developed and implemented emergency plans and training exercises to prepare for all potential risks. He's certified, among others, in the National Fire Academy, FEMA's Emergency Management Institute, the Academy of Counterterrorism Education, U.S. Department of Homeland Security in Emergency Preparedness, the National Center for Biomedical Research and Training, the Center for Radiological Nuclear Training. He has an associate's degree in fire science and soon receiving his bachelor's degree in fire administration. I can go on and on about his qualifications, his experience here locally with Fire Protection District number 4 in the Mandeville area, as well as Fire Protection District number 13 in the Covington-Goodby area. I present my appointment for the Director of Homeland Security and Emergency Operations, Mr. Clint Orey, and ask for your confirmation.
I don't know if any of you have any questions for me. Many of you know me. You know that I've served for a long time, over 32 years with Fire District 4 and over 20 years with Fire District 13. And I think more important than all of the training I've received and experience is that I love St. Tammany Parish and that I want to serve the people here. I want to continue to do that. I love this community and want to help keep it safe. And so I don't know if any of you have any questions for me about any of that, but I'd be happy to answer any that you have. But
Councilman Lorino.
Congratulations, Clint, and I've had the opportunity to work with you for the last 8 years. You're a fantastic worker, fantastic fireman, fire chief, and now I know you'll do a fantastic job because you'll hit the ground running. You're so used to everything, and so St. Tammany is very lucky, and President Cooper made a very good choice. So congratulations, sir.
thank you very much for that.
Seeing no further comments,
So moved.
We have a motion in a second.
okay, please vote.
The motion is unanimous with no one absent.
All right, moving back to the.
Mr. Chairman, I just want to say Clint is here with his wife, Danelle, who's back here in support as well. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Moving back to our regularly scheduled program, the consent calendar, any items not pulled by the consent calendar are automatically approved and hold by one vote. Items pulled from the consent calendar are discussed and voted upon individually. A majority vote of the entire council is required to adopt the consent calendar. So for items to pull, have one ordinance calendar number 7262. And then on the resolutions, we have the municipal water pollution environmental audit resolutions number 2 through 12. Anything on my right? Any council member have anything else to pull? My left, Mr. Smith.
Resolution 1,
Resolution 1.
6748.
Okay. Add that. Administration, you have anything to pull? No? Anybody from the audience? Seeing none, the chair will entertain a motion to adopt.
Motion to adopt.
All right, please vote. Mr. Smith and then Arthur, seconded.
Whoops.
Please vote.
The motion is unanimous with no one absent.
All right, number 9, which is ordinance calendar number 7262, ordinance to amend the 2023 grants budget amendment number 4. Mr. Laughlin.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. I pulled this just for clarity, and I asked the administration because I noticed that there's a large grant in my district. So if y'all could just explain the purpose of this ordinance, what we're doing. Are we spending the money at this time? Are we rolling it forward? What exactly?
Yes, sir. The purpose of this ordinance is to take any unspent grant funds as of 12/31/22, because we budgeted them in prior years, and roll those budgets forward to 2023. So in some cases, the awards may have been larger. We spent some money, but the amount available is being rolled forward for expenditure in 2023.
Okay, thank you. That was my question.
Yes, sir.
Would you like to
Make a motion
motion
to,
to introduce
yeah, I'm gonna, so make a motion to reintroduce this.
or just introduce? Second by Councilman Bender. That's it. We just have the motion. All right. Resolution number 1, CS number C-6748, resolution to declare the second Saturday in June as Get Outside Day in support of mental health of citizens and military veterans. Mr. Smith?
This is an effort by military groups. It's actually an international effort, includes Canadian veterans groups, and it's encouraging veterans to get out, exercise more, get out in the open more. It's being led here by Military's Veterans Advocacy Group. That's a nonprofit that has worked on the burn pit issue particularly. They're going to have a series of events. If you need the series of events, you can contact them at their website. John Wells runs it. I know they've got something coming up at the U.S. KID on June the 10th at the museum up there, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot of other things that veterans can participate in as well. So at this point in time, I'd like to move to adopt the resolution, or reintroduce.
Just adopt.
Just adopt, okay, adopt.
Second by Councilman O'Brien. Vote on this one. All right, we have to take a full vote on this one. Please vote.
Mr. Laughlin? All right. The motion is unanimous with no one absent.
Sector of Municipal Water Pollution Prevention Environmental Audit Resolutions. This is number 2 through number 12. They're all relatively similar. Councilman Smith?
Okay, these are all acknowledgements, resolutions for acknowledgement to accept the reports. They were scheduled to be discussed in the last utilities work group meeting. Administration canceled the meeting. They had something else they had to do. So I'd like to postpone this until we have the next utilities meeting, at which point in time, hopefully there'll be someone there who can answer questions, technical questions from the members of the committee. It is something that falls within the committee's jurisdiction, and at that point in time, we'll take it up, send it on to the rest of the council at the council's next meeting or whenever it is that we have utilities work group meeting.
And we'll have to do a motion on each of these as their individual agenda items,
We can't do it as a blanket motion?
not at the council meeting.
Okay, okay. Move to postpone. Do I need to read the resolution number?
The agenda item should be read, and then there
Okay.
should be a motion, a second, and a vote. for
I'll
each
read,
one.
I'll read each one, and then we can move in a second.
Okay.
All right. Resolution CS number C-6749, resolution to acknowledge the receipt and review of the 2022 Municipal Water Pollution Environmental Audit Report for the Westwood Sewage Treatment Facility, Ward 4, District 5. Moved by Mr. Smith, second by Mr. Canulette. Vote on that. Okay. Resolution
Mr. Toledano?
That's, the motion was to postpone for till the next meeting that we have.
The motion is unanimous with no one absent.
Resolution CS number C-6750, resolution to acknowledge the receipt and review of the 2022 Municipal Water Pollution Environmental Audit Report for the West St. Tammany Sewage Treatment Facility, Ward 1, District 3. Moved by Ms. Casabon, seconded by Mr. Fitzgerald. Please vote.
Ms. Lorino? The motion is unanimous with no one absent.
Resolution CS number C-6751, resolution to acknowledge the receipt and review of the 2022 Municipal Water Pollution Prevention Environmental Audit Report for the Timber Branch 2 Regional Sewer Treatment Facility, Ward 1, District 1. Mr. Dean? Second by Ms. Fitzgerald. Please vote.
The motion is unanimous with no one absent.
Resolution CS number C6752, resolution to acknowledge receipt and review of the 2022 Municipal Water Pollution Prevention Environmental Audit Report for the Tallow Creek Sewer Treatment Facility, Ward 1, District 3. Ms. Casabon. Second by Mr. Lorino. Please vote.
The motion is unanimous with no one absent.
Resolution CS number C6753, resolution to acknowledge receipt and review of the 2022 Municipal Water Pollution Prevention Environmental Audit Report for the Preferred Equity Sewer Treatment Facility, Ward 5, District 5. Mr. Toledano. Second by Mr. Lorino. Please vote. So moved to postpone, correct.
Mr. Toledano. The motion is unanimous with no one absent.
Number 7, resolution CS number 6754, resolution to acknowledge the receipt and review of the 2022 Municipal Water Pollution Prevention Environmental Audit Report for the North Lake Behavioral Sewer Treatment Facility, Ward 4, District 7. Mr. Davis.
Yeah, move to postpone.
Second by Mr. Dean. Please vote.
The motion is unanimous with no one absent.
Resolution CS number C6755, resolution to acknowledge the receipt and review 2022 Municipal Water Pollution Prevention Environmental Audit Report for Highway 22 Sewer Treatment Facility, Ward 4, District 4. Mr. Lorino.
Motion postpone.
Seconded by Mr. Toledano. Please vote.
The motion is unanimous with no one absent.
Resolution CS number C6756, resolution to acknowledge receipt and review of the 2022 Municipal Water Pollution Prevention Environmental Audit Report for the Goodby Regional Sewer Treatment Facility, Ward 1, District 3. Ms. Casabon.
Motion to postpone.
Second by Mr. Davis. Please vote.
The motion is unanimous with no one absent.
Resolution CS number C6757, resolution to acknowledge receipt and review of the 2022 Municipal Water Pollution Prevention Environmental Audit Report for the Crossgate Sewer Treatment Facility, Ward 8, District 9. Mr. Smith.
Move to postpone.
Second by Mr. Laughlin. Please vote.
The motion is unanimous with no one absent.
Resolution CS number C6758, resolution to acknowledge receipt and review of the 2022 Municipal Water Pollution Prevention Environmental Audit Report for the Castine Regional Sewer Treatment Facility, Ward 4, District 7. Mr. Davis.
Move to postpone.
Second by Mr. Canulette. Please vote.
Ms. Casabon. The motion is unanimous with no one absent.
Resolution CS number C6759, resolution to acknowledge receipt and review of the 2022 Municipal Water Pollution Prevention Environmental Audit Report for the Autumn Wind MWPP, Ward 4, District 7. Mr. Davis.
Move to postpone again.
Ms. O'Brien, second. All in favor? Right.
That motion is unanimous with no one absent.
Moving to appeals, each side is allowed 10 minutes to present their case and 3 minutes for rebuttal. 2-minute conclusion per side may be allowed if questions are asked by the council. So please understand that's 10 minutes per side, not 10 minutes each speaker. So it looks like there's some stacks of cards here, so make sure you have your speakers lined up for this one. We're going to move, though, to number 4, appeal number 4, Lynn W. Wilkinson, Mindy Davis, and Carolyn Tilley appealing the Planning and Zoning or Planning Commission approval on April 1st, 2023 of the revocation of an unopened portion of Ozone Street, south of Robert Road, north of Casaril Drive, between Square 17 and Square 18 in the Beta Springs Terrace subdivision, Ward 4, District 7. Mr. Davis?
Yes, I've had conversation with Ms. Wilkinson and Ms. Dennis and Ms. Tilley, both all want to withdraw the appeal.
So you're moving to withdraw?
Move to withdraw.
All in favor, please vote.
The motion is unanimous with one absent.
I take it we're not lucky enough to have any more of those tonight. Okay. All right, I'm going back to number 1. Jeffrey Laporte appealing the Zoning Commission denial on February 7, 2023 to rezone 1.23 acres located in the west side of Krista Drive, south of US Highway 11 Slidell, from A2 Suburban District to A2 Suburban District and RO Rural Overlay, Ward 9, District 11. Mr. Laughlin, or do you want to hear the cards first?
I would like to hear the cards.
Okay.
I would like to hear the cards first.
All right.
These are all not in favor.
Okay.
This one does not.
Mr. Laporte?
Doing well, thank you.
You can begin, sir.
I'm sorry, what?
You can begin.
Okay. So my property is located on Krista Drive, which is in Slidell off of 190. If you'll look at that first slide, 190 is right at the top of it. And if you look down, it's just a short dead-end street that dead ends at the Tammany Trace. And my property is located at the bottom left of that picture. It's 1.2 acres, which is about a little more than 200 by 200. And you can see my house is right in the middle. Only that cleared area is my property. Between me and the Trace is Parish property. I'm right on the Tammany Trace. And that's a short street with only 7 other residents. As you look through those slides, you'll see pictures of the other residents, mostly mobile homes. That second picture that you see is actually someone that's running a gutter company out of his property. The fourth slide is a neighbor adjacent to me. The next one is the neighbor directly next to me. You can see that's a mobile home. It was damaged in Ida, still hasn't been repaired, and he's staying in an RV right there. The next slide you'll see is my property. That's the property that's in question. It's a 4,000 square foot house. If you look to the left, you'll see kind of a second story. It used to be over the garage. That's the part that I want to do a short-term rental on. It's a 3-bedroom, 1 bath, basically apartment, very nice. It looks like a cabin inside. It's all tongue and groove. My mother lives below that, and we live on the house to the right, all attached. I just did a renovation, and it's all one structure, but my mother lives below there, and we live to the right. You can see also that there's a huge driveway that's 30 feet wide by about 100 foot long. There's a circular driveway. There's also a driveway on the right, so no improvements would have to be done that would affect drainage in any way. And then if you look at the next picture, you'll see just right past my house is the Tammany Trace, which is another reason why I was thought that this would be a great idea for a vacation rental by owner. I do have the unenviable position, I realize, of being opposed by a friend of the council, Dr. Demang. I didn't realize when I went to the original meeting that there was going to be any opposition because I talked to all my neighbors and everybody was happy with it. So during that meeting, the situation in the waters kind of became muddied, I believe, and I wasn't really prepared for that because a rural overlay allows for things that you're going to hear tonight, probably like a helipad or an aircraft landing strip or a trucking company. But as was brought out, that was actually the reason. If you look at the next slide, I could actually play this clip, but I think I'm not gonna. But it was one of the zoning commission members saying, I agree that this is a smart idea. It really looks like a good place for it. But however, because rural overlay allows for a helipad, it allows for a trucking company, it allows for commercial farming, we're going to deny your request. Well, later, another person in that meeting, in the next slide you'll see, he brought up the fact that although it allows for this, looking at this property only being a little bit bigger than 1 acre and a house in the middle, doesn't it seem like that's not the proper context? And so the parish, I put here, you can see there, the parish zoning professional expert person admitted that it would be both extremely difficult to permit and that it would be highly unlikely that any of those situations could take place on this property. Virtually impossible. In other words, the only thing, if a rural overlay is allowed, which I'm asking for, the only feasible thing that it would allow is a vacation rental by owner, which is what I'm asking for. So that's what those slides show. The next slide shows that according to a study done by Cornell University, I'll read it here, short-term rentals like Airbnb help struggling homeowners and protect a community's character. According to a Cornell University case study, the ability to rent one's property, even in the short term, may be a tremendous financial aid to struggling homeowners, which is why I'm here. It can help to avoid or at least mitigate instances of blight due to disrepair, distressed sales at below market rate sale prices, and even foreclosure. The case study concludes that allowing owners to home share can protect a community's character and property values. So I'm trying to keep it simple, what I'm asking for. I realized there was a problem with vacation rental by owners, which you addressed. Y'all shut it down and didn't allow it in residential areas, except for this. When I went and asked about it, this is the only way to do it. You have to rezone to a rural overlay, and then it would allow it. And so all I'm asking, that was wise, I realized what you did by stopping it. Now, only on an individual basis, you have to go through a difficult process. You have to have a rural overlay, and then you can do it. And so to me, that's a wise way to go forward with vacation rental by owners. You get to look at the individual property. You get to say, does this make sense? Which it does. They agreed that it made sense. I'm at the end of a street. I'm on the Trace, which is a tourist destination. None of my neighbors are opposed to it. They're actually happy. They could actually have people stay there. And it's actually adding value to this short street right here. So I think it's a very wise ability and vehicle that's there in limited cases, case by case, where you can decide whether this is a good idea. And so I believe that this is a good idea. If you look at the house, it's a very nice house. My mother is going to be below it. We're like to the right of it. It will help me with income, which my wife is retired and I'm retiring. So in the future, that's going to help us. That's the reason that I'm wanting to do it. And so in conclusion, let me go to my last slide. It says, I believe that I have demonstrated the reason for denial by zoning commission was faulty due to no other rural overlay scenarios on this property being feasible per parish zoning expert. I believe that I demonstrated that no one will be harmed by allowing a short-term rental on my property. No neighbors are in opposition. It's a wise location. Those who are in opposition will not be affected due to their distance from my property. Number 3, the rural overlay rezoning option accomplishes the goal of severely restricting new short-term rentals in residential areas while still allowing a process where common sense can be applied to requests such as, does this location make sense? And are those who will be directly affected opposed to the rezoning request? This is a wise solution by the parish because it does restrict but still allow short-term rentals in residential areas where everyone directly affected is happy and would benefit. And then I believe that I have demonstrated that this particular short-term rental will benefit the parish by allowing families to enjoy this property, our parish, and the Tammany Trace experience that the parish has created. So that's basically, I'm trying to, it was muddied, the waters were muddied by saying it could have a heliport. This is in a critical drainage area. That's not going to be affected. Nothing's going to change. We have all the parking that we need. The only thing that's going to happen if you approve this is that I'll be able to have a short-term rental on my house at the end of my street. My neighbors are happy. I believe that everyone would be happy, and I would strongly ask that you consider my request, and I thank you for your time.
Mr. Domain, you want to go first?
Is it, or we move into opposition?
Yes.
Yes, that was the only card on.
Good evening. I'm Lee Demang. I live at 34057 Bayou Liberty Road. I do represent the association on Bayou Liberty, and we want to state unequivocally that we do oppose the rezoning of this property. And we understand the LaPorte's position. We appreciate their complaint and also their petition to the council on appeal. We oppose the appeal as we oppose the petition at the zoning commission for two very important reasons. One, before the short-term rental ordinance went into effect February of 2022, there were probably anywhere between 800 to 1,200 short-term rental locations throughout St. Tammany Parish. Let's say there were 1,000. We don't know the exact number because many of them operated below radar. Now, these, at that time, before the ordinance went into effect, our short-term rental ordinance went into effect, these properties were obviously in a gray zone. There was no specific ordinance prohibiting them. However, most of them occurred in pure residential neighborhoods, which does violate the residential neighborhood ordinance. It is a commercial entity, which brings up another issue. If this is actually approved, understand that these 800 to 1,200 homeowners are going to come to the zoning commission, ultimately on appeal to this council, and petition for a rural overlay in order that they can do a short-term rental. There will be a cascade of applications where both the zoning commission and this council will be beleaguered with a bunch of applications to change properties from pure residential to a rural overlay. And let's be honest, the rural overlay by itself is a euphemistic misnomer. It is anything but attractive. It's got nothing to do at all with environment or trees or preserving anything. It is a commercial zoning. And what I've done is I've given you a copy. Those are permitted uses for a rural overlay which came directly from the ordinance. And by the way, those aren't all of them, they're just some of them. But what this does, it takes a piece of property in an A2 area and permanently changes it to a commercial zoning area, which I think would be tragic. And look, I understand. I've been on Krista Drive twice now. I know what's on there. It is not an attractive area. At the end of this property, across from the trace, there appears to be a junkyard for all practical purposes. It's inconceivable to me that this would be an attractive thing for anyone who would want to rent a short-term rental unit. That said, the property area in question here, the entire A2 subdivision area, could have potential to be something very nice. It is not there now. And as far as access to the trace, let's be fair, the trace is free. There's access to the trace throughout St. Tammany Parish in multiple areas. You don't have to rent anything, a motel even, to get access to the trace. But most people want a short-term rental for the reasons of the way it looks, the appearance, the tranquility, the beauty associated with it. That's lacking in this area. Now, the two reasons, therefore, in conclusion, are one, there will be a barrage of homeowners trying to petition either you or the zoning commission for a rezoning of their property to commercial. I think to do so would be tragic. But more importantly, this is a spot zoning attempt by the Laportes to do something which is not allowed in an A2 area. Therefore, I respectfully ask that you concur with the zoning commission, which was overwhelming in their negative or denial vote for this petition. And in reference to a comment made by the Laportes, the different permitted uses for a rural overlay, as you see before you right now, don't indicate that I think that could be an airport or a heliport on his property, but it gives you an idea of the consequences of rezoning a rural overlay on an A2 area. And it's very conceivable, by the way, that industrial trucks could easily be stored on this property, not by the Laportes, but by some future landowner because it's been permitted in perpetuity. It would be a tremendous tragedy to have that happen, I think, for this neighborhood. Thank you for listening to my concerns. Thank you for your time.
Tom Collins.
Hi, folks. I ran an Airbnb on my property, and like Mr. Laporte, I had access to the Airbnb because it was right next door, 75 feet from my home. And I understand that he wants to make an income from it, and I'm sorry to say I oppose that. I was making $4,000 a month. I did not want to set a precedent for the parish by running a successful and a non-irritating Airbnb. I carefully vetted my people, and I did not allow large gatherings or late-night visitors or any of that sort of thing. The reason I oppose this exception is that it does set a precedent. Once you do it to A2, and by the way, I live in an A2 neighborhood. I am A2. I would not like it if one of my neighbors had a rural overlay applied to their property because of the precedent it would set and because of the threats it could cause to my peace and well-being, okay? So I'm sorry, Mr. Laporte, that I can't support this. I realized the income would be very nice. I gave mine up in the best interest of the parish. Thank you.
Charlotte Collins. Mine's already been set. Okay. And we also had a card from Donna McDonald, but she doesn't want to speak, but she's also not in favor of the appeal. We had two cards without which one, they didn't want to speak, but it's Barbara Beckley. What number for you, appeal were you? Were you on this one or? No. Okay, and same one with Kathy Lincoln. You're for, okay. All right. So that's all the cards we have. Mr. Laporte, you have 3 minutes for rebuttal.
Yes, sir. I just want to rebut a few of the points. One of the arguments that you should turn this down tonight is that you're going to be so overrun with people that you're not going to be able to handle them. I don't believe that's true. I believe you know that. It's a difficult process. You have to go and pay like $800. They have to put a sign up in your yard alerting all of your neighbors of what you're trying to do. The neighbors have an opportunity to come to the meeting. So if anyone is opposed, like this gentleman was talking about, if he was opposed to someone doing it in his neighborhood, he could show up at that meeting and it would not be allowed, I'm sure, if neighbors are in opposition. So there's a lot of safeguards. I don't think you're going to be overrun with so many people that you can't handle it if you agree to this, and it's not going to set a precedent. The precedent is that if you want to do this in a rural area, one, it needs to make sense. Number two, there needs to be not anybody in opposition. And number three, you have to go through an entire process to have it done. And so the other thing where he was talking about other things, on this particular property, it was determined by the permitting expert from the parish that not only do you need a rural overlay, but then you have to apply for permits for all these other things. I still have to apply for a permit for an Airbnb and meet a lot of requirements even to do that. This doesn't automatically allow me to start doing an Airbnb. And he said that it would be more than likely not allowed and extremely difficult to obtain a permit to do anything else on my property. So I'm just asking you, on my particular property, you're not going to be setting some huge new precedent where you're going to have lots of people. You're going to have individuals who may say, wow, mine makes sense. Maybe nobody will be opposed to it and maybe it'll be approved. That's a good thing for the parish, I think. If it makes sense, it's in a good area, none of the neighbors are opposed, why not? You're helping a citizen be able to, have more income. You're allowing people to enjoy the property, which my property is a very nice property, by the way. We have pictures and we have people that do want to manage it and use it as a BRB. They think it would produce a lot of income, but they did require that it be zoned correctly, which is why we're going through this process. But once again, thank you for your consideration, and I don't think that you would be setting a dangerous precedent. Thank you very much.
Mr. Domain with rebuttal.
I do not. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Collins? Ms. Collins? Yes. Mrs. Collins, I'm sorry. Charlie Collins, did you? Yes, just okay.
The other problem that we experience with all of the Airbnbs, VRBOs, all of them around us, was that there's a huge lack of enforcement. So if there happens to be a problem, whether it's his property or anyone else that is hand-selected, spot rezoned, that's something that falls on the parish. And we had a very difficult time with the ones that were a problem, getting enforcement to handle the situation, whether it was noise, whether it was a number of cars, whatever it may be. That's my last. Thank you.
Thank you. We have some people in the queue you want to, okay. Mr. Bender, you're on.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Laporte, could you come up, please, sir? Yes, sir. Okay, first, so that I'll properly, fully understand the buildings on the site. The photographs that you provided to council, looking at your property, can you tell us what these buildings, what are these purposes of these buildings? Where does your mother live? Where do you live? Tell us about what's on your property first.
Okay, so if you see the brick part to the right, that's mine. It's about an 1,800 square foot residence. To the left, with the blue siding part on the bottom, is my mother. She lives there. And above that, there's a separate entrance around the side that enters the top. That's a 3-bedroom and 1-bath apartment that we did above where my mother stays. It used to be a garage underneath too, so we closed that in. But that, we're talking about the part above my mother, blue siding part to the left of the brick house.
Okay, so you have 3 residences. Well,
it is.
I'm only going by, correct me if I'm wrong, is that what you just described to me?
It's one structure that we have my mother staying in one part, we're staying in one part, and the top part, nobody's there, but.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, and I'm looking for information, okay? The one that's empty is the one that you want to use as an Airbnb, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So if that were the case, you would have 3 occupied residences on this property.
If you consider my mother separate from us, but she's part of our family and we all consider it the same. It's just, you can get through to her. But, so 2, I would say technically 2.
Okay. And I fully understand. So thank you. I appreciate that.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, you can go ahead and sit down if you'd like. I just wanted confirmation on what I was looking at. Thank you. So, a rural overlay. First of all, we were handed a printout of the different permitted uses. When I look at, and I think all of us on the council have to consider this in any decisions that we make at our level. And that is, we cannot say to a constituent, to one of our citizens, if we give you this zoning or overlay, whatever, you must only use it for this permitted use. In other words, you must only use it for a snowball stand. Well, no, you can, over time, with that zoning, use it for a number of things. A bed and breakfast, seasonal seafood peddlers or seasonal produce peddlers, fireworks sales, roadside farm stands, churches, temples, synagogues, camps, other things, greenhouses, nurseries. That's what's allowed under a rural overlay, okay? So this property is A2. So A1 would be one home per 5 acres, and A2 is 1 home per 2 acres. Excuse me. Thank you, sir. I really didn't mean 2 acres. I misspoke. I took the A2 and the 2. A2 is 1 home per acre, okay? And we have a situation here, I'm just telling you how I see it, okay? That we have 3 residential uses on the property. So it's good in the sense that it's providing livability for yourself, for your mother, if you wanted to rent out the piece that's behind you. So you've got good livability here. For myself, I have concerns about the short-term rental aspect, okay? And I'll just leave it at that. I think I said what I wanted to say about it, and I think it's things we should consider. So thank you.
Mr. Lorino?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First off, Mr. Laporte, the main issue that I see is when we started looking at short-term rentals in residential communities is a no-no, in my opinion, okay? Nobody wants anything next to their residence. And when we looked at that, putting it together, one of the criterias we looked at was a lot of space around where there was no other houses, whether the people approved of it, whether or not, because a lot of people do not approve of it. So if you do it with one, then you move it on over to the other. I think that's what Mr. Domain was getting at. But in a residential community, it's not good. That's my personal opinion. It has nothing to do with you or anything else. It's something that I really firmly believe. On Mr. Domain, I think you would agree with me that we're not going to put a helicopter pad down. Okay? So when I look at this, and as I sit here and look at appeals, that's the normal thing to do. Let's throw everything against the wall. Nothing wrong with that. I do the same thing. Bottom line is, I think the parish should look at a specific short-term rental ordinance that says you can do this and put whatever number you want by it, and that's all. That way, when we get it, there's nothing being thrown up against the wall. Because that's not going to stop me, because I know he's not going to put a helicopter pad down. But what does stop me, it's a residential area. So I'm just throwing that out, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Mr. Davis?
Thank you, sir. Mr. Laporte, can you come back up to the front? Did I hear you say something about a property management company came up to you and said that you needed to rezone this property?
No, sir. What happened was we were looking at doing a vacation rental by owner, and so I Googled and found a company that would manage it, would allow people to come in, clean it, and take the money, all that. We wouldn't have to worry about it. But they said it had to be zoned correctly in order for them to manage it. And
Of
so
course.
we started looking through the process. How do we do that?
Okay, so I understand it now.
That's
So
what
you're
brought us
talking
in.
about this section of a home above your mother, and it has 3 bedrooms, correct? Does it have bathrooms and a kitchen and stuff like that?
It has a bathroom and a kitchen.
Well, why don't you just rent it as an apartment? There you go. I mean, are you looking for income? You can get income that way.
Yeah.
You don't have to worry about the overlay. I mean, to me, without trying to change the zoning, which is going to influence probably even some of your people that live around you, which they could. There's no reason they couldn't come in and ask for a rural overlay themselves and take advantage of the situation. That's all I'm going to say.
The only reason not doing long-term is we figured if you get someone difficult in there, you're stuck with them. This is like people, we love people. You get to see people, for a week and then they're gone.
And you'd rather have strangers coming in every weekend?
For a week, yeah.
Every
they're vetted.
weekend.
They're vetted. It's not just anybody. But anyway, all right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Don't go too far, Mr. Laporte.
Mr. Toledano.
Thank you very much. I'm not going to take very long, but Mr. Laporte, you sound like a reasonable guy. You presented yourself very well today, but I'm going to ask you this question. If I came in, and Mr. Davis, my partner, and I came in, but he's not really my partner, and I said, you know what we're going to do? we're gonna set up on one side of your property, seems very nice, a seafood peddling situation. If you've ever been next to one of those metal warehouses, you might know that you don't want to be. And then, you know what? We can also set up a fireworks stand. You, in a very articulate fashion, would be before us, understandably so, and say, look, I'm against that. Here is the problem that we want you to appreciate. Your intentions are good. You did have, I had the exact same question Mr. Davis said, because I try to listen. You mentioned a management company. You did. You might have misspoke, but it caught my attention. That was going to be my first question, but he handled it. So that's the problem we're in. It's not that your intent is necessarily bad, but because of what it brings in potentiality to your neighbors, much well as yourself, it causes us to step back and pause. And I just want to say that to you.
With all due respect,
Sure.
that fireworks stand or that seafood place at the end of a dead-end street where nobody could see it wouldn't last very long. You can't put signs out by 190, nobody would know about it, and I wouldn't be able to be permitted for those either. So,
Well, I'm not sure,
anyway.
but I hope
Thank
you
you.
appreciate what I said. Thank you.
I do. Thank you, sir.
Ms. Casabon?
Yes, I'm kind of along the lines of Mr. Lorino, that I think when we started this on the bed and breakfast, we looked at it because we had these in subdivisions, and I think the term that rural, I think of country, and it is, I just don't think that's the term it should be in this, because I'm looking at what, like you said, can go in there. And that's not, even in the rural areas where we do have Airbnbs, I would not want them to have that overlay because of what, like they said, could go in there. I think we need to readdress this maybe through the unified code. And also, I've had people call me on different things like the insurances. The things that we're requiring is pretty difficult for some of them to meet. I'd just like to say at this point in time that we need to readdress this and look at it in a different term, either have Airbnbs in a category of their own, instead of saying, oh, it's an A1, let's put an overlay here and overlay there. It's kind of like the manufactured home overlays, that instead of having an overlay, look at it where it is, the neighbors, and everything that goes along with it, and see if they meet those requirements. And then you're not stuck with some of these, if it doesn't make it, you're stuck with some of these other things that they could use within that overlay. That's it.
Mr. Davis?
Yes, just one other point, and I forgot to say, thank you very much, Martha, for that explanation, because that's exactly what I was going to say, which I forgot, and I apologize for that. But as the chairman on the UDC committee, one of the things that the Parish Planning and Development is looking at is probably doing something with the rural overlay and just making a short-term rental as a conditional use. And this may be the problem that we need to have that will solve all this situation with having adopted the rural overlay into the short-term rental scene. But thank you.
Thank you. And well, I'll let legal clarify.
Well, I just wanted to clarify one thing that's been discussed. Mr. Area may have another clarification as well. I just wanted to point out that some of the uses that have been discussed tonight are not uses by right in a rural overlay. They're uses that require an administrative permit. So it's another layer that requires the Department of Planning and Development to issue those permits. So some of the things on the handout are not actually uses by right with a rural overlay. And those would include religious uses, guest houses, seafood peddlers, snowball stands, Christmas tree stands, fireworks stands, bed and breakfast, excavations, winery, and including the short-term rental. So just because you get the rural overlay does not mean you get to do the short-term rental. You then have to apply for an administrative permit. I just wanted to clarify the record.
And I was going to say, too, that, well, at least based on Judge Kelleher's ruling, our ordinances as they existed prior to the short-term rental did not allow for short-term rentals in residentially zoned areas. So what the purpose of the short-term rental ordinance was to say places where they were allowed. So you already started with, they weren't allowed, and if they had been operating, they weren't operating legally. So just want to clarify that. Mr. Fitzgerald?
Briefly, and I think Councilwoman Tanner will agree with me. I think the concept of the rural overlay was we got a 20, 30, 40, 50, 100 acre estate someplace with a nice home right in the middle of it. And no matter what happens there, it's not going to bug anybody. And the fact that we have these other uses put in with it, it does need to be examined. And I think that was the concept. And I also agree that probably a long-term rental would be the solution if I put myself in your shoes, Ms. LaPorte. Thank you.
Councilman Randolph?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I do concur with the definitional part and the descriptive part concerning the rural overlay. The intent or the perception is that of a larger piece of property. I do also concur with the UDC, actually with us looking at that piece and defining it more specific. And Emily, thank you so much for explaining the administrative permits. So as a past zoning commissioner, planning commissioner, anything that is administrative permit, we as a council won't see that. And we're laying that responsibility on our employees, on our staff, and to say yay or nay. And I think we need to stay confined to whether or not we're going to allow this or not, and not defer these type permits to our administrative staff to make those decisions.
Mr. Dean?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just two things. One is I wanted to see how Dr. Domingue felt about being called a friend of the council. Is that okay? Or?
I'm okay with that, but I didn't know it either.
I would imagine it was kind of shocking to you, although you are a nice guy. But then the other thing is, just so everybody will know about, there was a young woman who is being sent off to, I don't know, Iraq, or she's been, what do you call it when you're deployed? Thank you. And she has a home on the river or around the river in a very nice neighborhood. I won't say where it is. And she had asked me if she could do the Airbnb because she was going to be gone about a year. I made the decision that or at least I told her I don't think that I would support it at all. And it was just based on the fact that we do have, it's a very pleasant neighborhood. Even though it kind of tugged at my heart that there'd be a real good reason to do it, I still kind of chose not to. So that's kind of where I stand on it.
Councilwoman Ryan?
Yes, Mr. LaPorte, when you spoke about this, you talked about how your wife is already retired, you're going to be retiring, you want some additional income. It seems like your number one goal is to get extra income. As Mr. Davis recommended, you can rent it. There is a solution that will help your family. I don't think there's wisdom in changing the zoning for that particular type when you already have an option to help your family. And I would strongly encourage you to consider that. With these hard economic times, I know exactly where you're coming from, and my heart goes out to you. But you already have an option available to you. I hope you consider that.
Councilman Laughlin?
Mr. LaPorte, I just wanted to say you do have the nicest house on Krista. I actually went and toured the facility. Unfortunately, I think you're caught. You can already kind of read the mood of the council. And unfortunately, this came at the transition part between me and my predecessor, so you didn't get a chance to talk to me beforehand. I think you were unfortunately given bad advice by planning in terms of the rural overlay, because although this has exposed a kind of gap we have in what the spirit of the rural overlay was, it was for the 50-plus acre parcel in the, I don't want to point out my counterparts on the other side, but they have larger space than we do over here. And for that, I'm going to ask that we concur with the zoning.
Motion by Mr. Laughlin, second by Mr. Davis. Any more discussion? Please vote.
The motion is unanimous with one absent.
And we need a motion, Mr. Laughlin. So moved. Second by Councilwoman O'Brien. We just ignored it. And then a vote.
Mr. Bender, Mr. Laughlin. The motion is unanimous with one absent.
Moving on to number 2, Sherelle Phillips appealing the Planning Commission denial on February 14, 2023, the revocation of unopened portion of Tammany Avenue, north of Landmark Lane, south of Walden Road, east of Highway 437, Ward 3, District 2. Mr. Fitzgerald, do you want to hear the people first?
We don't have any cards.
We actually don't have any cards. So.
No.
Okay.
Yes, I can speak to this. We're in the process of arranging a conference and informational meeting with all parties involved. We're unable to get that done over the past 2 or 3 weeks. Staff has been extremely busy, so I'd like to postpone for another 30 days.
Motion to postpone by Councilman Fitzgerald, second by Councilman Toledano. Please vote. I don't think you'll get any opposition on that one.
The motion is unanimous with 2 absent.
All right. Moving to number 3, Dion Cuevas Steed and Lisa Sifilou. Sorry if I said their name wrong. Appealing the Zoning Commission approval on April 4th, 2023 to rezone 1.7 acres located on the north side of Ned Avenue, west of Sunrise Street, Slidell, from A2 Suburban District to A2 Suburban District and MHO Manufactured Housing Overlay, Ward 9, District 11. Daily double, Mr. Laughlin. Would you like to hear the comments first? Yes. Okay. All right. All right. Ms. Cuevas, come on down. Whenever you're ready.
Before I start, can I ask that I get everyone who is here that is appealing this to stand up so that you can see the people on my street and the 3 streets that are with me that are here that feel very strongly about it? Can they stand for just one moment?
Sure.
Please stand. Okay, thank you. My name's Dion Cuevas Steedy. I was born in this parish and I've lived here almost all of my life. I grew up in Madisonville when it was a shipyard town, and now I live in Slidell. We are appealing Mr. McDonald's request that he be able to move a mobile home onto his property that his disabled mother-in-law will live in. We have 3 main reasons, actually 4 main reasons. I'm going to touch on a little bit, and then we have a couple of other people that want to speak. The first is a safety issue. A mobile home is just not as safe as a stick or brick home. We are in the middle of St. Tammany, where almost everyone's insurance has gone up because we know the danger right now of hurricanes coming in. There could be a problem with a mobile home with that. Also, there's a safety issue because a lot of, I live on 3 streets. And there are a lot of mobile homes on my 3 streets. When I moved there 10 years ago, I was told that they were grandfathered in and that as soon as a mobile home was deemed not livable, that a house would be built there or the land would be there. No one would move another mobile home in. We were A2. My husband and I bought the property based on that. And I think almost everyone in our neighborhood that bought property were told that. It was originally in the deed restrictions, and they took that to mean that that's what would happen. The safety also, we've had some problems in our neighborhood, and it seems like we have a lot of temporary people that move in and out. And it's primarily the mobile homes that are being rented for that. Also, the second point that I have is the aesthetics of my neighborhood. As you can see with the pictures with the packet that you guys got, we face a lot of, probably 80% of the people that own a stick-built house, they have nice property. They take care of their property. It looks very nice. About 80% of the mobile homes in our neighborhood are the complete opposite. We have to call code enforcement. We worry about abandoned properties. We worry about what's going on in our neighborhood. And it basically, the third part of that is that it is bringing down our property value. I live next door to a mobile home. My home is 40 years old. The mobile home next to me is 40 years old. He is unfortunately one of the 80% of mobile home people in our neighborhood that we have to call code enforcement on. It is falling apart. Insulation is falling from the bottom. If I went to sell my house tomorrow, I would have a hard time selling my house. And when I moved in, there were trees that were blocking that mobile home, and you could not see it. And his brother owned it, and it was in much better shape than it is today. In the past 5 years, some parts of our neighborhood have gone down. When I talk about the value of property, we have had 6 or 7 new houses that have been built in 2 years, and they are nice houses. People are building houses, and as one of the zoning people said who voted with us, that our neighborhood is trending nicer, that our neighborhood is trending to stick-built homes, where people are investing in our neighborhood and changing it, and we want to continue that. The fourth thing that some of the people are going to address is the precedent. Mr. McDonald wants to move the mobile home onto his property. We have about 7 empty lots right now in our 3-block radius, and this is going to allow everyone else who has been denied in the last 3 to 5 years from doing this. And I've been here 3 times, not here, but to the zoning, and it's been denied all 3 times that someone could move a mobile home into our neighborhood. I don't understand why now all of a sudden that has changed and it's being allowed. We would ask you to please deny this approval that the zoning committee approved, because we want our neighborhood to be nicer. So sorry, I'm not the best speaker, but I'm going to give up my time to someone who's going to speak about safety and a couple of other things.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Rob Sufi. I'm speaking on behalf of my wife, Lisa Sufi, who put this packet together for all of you tonight. I have nothing against mobile homes. I have something against mobile homes in our neighborhood. My family has owned mobile home parks before, and that's where I think a mobile home should be, in parks, designated areas, not our neighborhoods. And everybody knows a mobile home can become a projectile and can destroy a house. People could get hurt with that. Ms. Dion spoke about depreciation of property, value. We invested in our property, and, some people have visited my property and it's like, wow, this is a very nice piece of property. But if you look next door, you would have a mobile home. I wouldn't want that for my family, So look through the pictures. You will see the pictures of the mobile homes in our area. And I'm sure at one time there were nice mobile homes, but they will always go down. It will always just fall apart. They depreciate. They're not well kept. They're not made to last forever, like a stick-built home. Before you make a decision, please look at the photographs and ask yourself, would you want to see this every day when you drive to and from work, home, church, whatever? And would you want your family to live next to something like that? I wouldn't. And that's why I'm here tonight, to try and, ask you to reconsider the decision for the mobile home in the area. And I'm okay with a modular house. It doesn't have to be a mobile home. A modular house is pre-manufactured, and it's built on a slab. Mobile home has a chassis with wheels and a hitch. They do remove them, but it can be put back on and moved again. I'm gonna let somebody else speak. Thank you for your time.
Apologize if I get the name wrong. James Steed?
No, sir, I'm going to be on the appeals on the west side.
Okay. Craig, or if you'd like to come up, just say your name for the record.
Yes, I'm Craig Furman.
Okay.
I live on Ned, and that I'm going to reiterate what Robert and Dion said. When we bought our house in 2009, the real estate agent and the previous owner said that it's an A2 zone. Would be no new mobile homes moved into this neighborhood. The existing ones were grandfathered in until the owner either died or sold the property, which at that point would avoid grandfathering. I mean, you only had the land then. The mobile home could not be, revitalized or, put back into some kind of living conditions. Some of the mobile homes in our neighborhood were flooded in Katrina, and they're still there. And they're just sitting there abandoned. They're rat infested. Kids go in those things because they're just sitting there. And we hope that they would be removed one day. When we moved in that neighborhood, it was, there must have been about maybe 24 of them. Since 2009, we have diligently tried to get them out, and we had probably 6 or 8 of them removed. And then some people just put up resistance, when they buy a piece of property, and they end up staying on it, and they don't even live in the mobile home. They move a shed that they buy at Home Depot, and they put that on the property, and they buy a generator, and that's what they're living in 139 Ned. And it's been that way since 2017, when this lady bought that property. That should have never been allowed. And that mobile home is not inhabitable. She won't go in it. I mean, when they sold the property, they said it could be used as storage. I saw the ad the real estate agent placed. And it's not inhabitable, but now she's living in a Home Depot shed behind it. And the rest of the mobile homes that are just been sitting there since 2005, sometimes somebody will go in and, refurbish it a little bit and rent it out, but I wouldn't live in that. I mean, it was flooded. It had trash in it and rats. I mean, you'd get the plague living in one of those. We just hope that we can make more progress and not regress to go back to where it was, in the past.
Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you.
And we had a number, I'll do this on the rebuttal, I guess. Is Mr. McDonald, there wasn't a card, but I assume you want to speak. Just introduce yourself, please.
I'm Ryan McDonald. I've been living on that property for 23 years. And we're just looking for an affordable housing for my partner's retired mother, so we can help support her. And that's pretty much it. There is a mobile home directly across the street from my property. There's a mobile home directly behind that property. It's a wooded property right now. My plan is to open up a space big enough for the mobile home in the middle. It won't be seen. There's a pipeline that runs in between my property and this property, or between the 2 lots. And hopefully the driveway would just go up pipeline and then cut into the wooded area where the mobile home would be. Just a small mobile home. We're just trying to get something affordable. She's retired and has a limited income. And there are a lot of mobile homes out there, but I mean, we're going to do a brand new one, and I mean, that's really, I don't really have anything else to add.
Thank you, sir. 3 minutes for rebuttal. Anybody like to come? Is there anybody else who wanted to speak on the, was there one?
You called her name and she said no.
No, they said they didn't want to speak.
Yes, I'm James Steedy. I live on Ned Avenue. The question that some of us have here is the fact that, you know, we all have elderly parents, and we all try to make plans on taking care of them some way or somehow. Our question is, after, unfortunately, God forbid, once the elderly has been deceased, then what happens to the property? Then what happens to the mobile home? It's going to turn into a rental. And our neighborhood has been evolving into stick-built homes. And I'm not sure of the total count, but I'm thinking about 5 families have moved in, spend the money to build structural homes. And now that takes a lot to invest into that neighborhood and spend the money that you got to spend to build a house nowadays. I mean, it's unreal. Now, what I don't understand is we have some people that have actually put an addition onto their house to take care of the elderly. So if you do the math, by the time you clear it, sewage it, well it, get it in there, it'd be almost cheaper just to add a 20 by 20 onto your house. Don't add a bathroom, because then we don't know if the septic's going to accept the size. So that's where we're standing. We're trying to get a stop to the point that this area, our neighborhood, gets more and more and more houses into it, stick-built homes. So that way the people feel more secure, our neighborhood value grows. The only last thing is that when we're having those kind of issues and people are renting out this kind of stuff, they have no value in our neighborhood. So then they really don't respect our quote-unquote values in the neighborhood as far as the way we drive down the road, the speed that we drive at. I mean, most of the residents know it's an unwritten code, but there's certain patterns that we all use. And then there's certain patterns that the people that have no investment into our neighborhood just go wildly down the road, 40 miles an hour down the road. I mean, it's just incredible. So that's what we're trying to protect.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
We had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 other cards that were in favor of the appeal. That'll be part of the record. Mr. McDonald, you have 3 minutes for rebuttal.
So as far as down the road, it becoming a rental, I don't know. Being a stick home or a mobile home isn't going to change whether it becomes a rental, except the mobile home that can actually be sold and towed off of the property and brought somewhere else. Where a stick home, I would have no choice but to rent it out. Because, well, what else am I going to do with it besides bulldoze it down? I mean, that's all.
Thank you, sir. I have no one in the queue, so now I do. Mr. Davis.
Yeah, a question for the gentleman. So you're currently living on this property now?
Yes, I have 2 lots.
Two lots, and you have a home?
Yes.
Okay, is it a mobile home or is
No,
it?
it's a log home.
A log home, okay. And you say you'd like to have your mother near you, is what you're trying to get?
Yes.
Okay, she doesn't currently live in the home with you?
No,
Okay.
it's a small house.
And how big's your lot? 1 acre at least?
1.7 is the lot we're trying to overlay.
Okay.
And I live on 1.6 acres on,
Okay.
with the house.
Without changing, to have a manufacturing housing overlay, you can still put a 1,000 square foot home on it.
Correct.
I mean, you can build a 1,000 square foot home up to a 1,000 square foot mother-in-law house on your own property.
Right.
That way you don't have to do anything. You just build a home, hook it up, and you're done. So I don't quite understand. Is your plan to buy a mobile home and move it to the property?
Yes. Yes, because, putting a stick home is a lot more expensive.
Well, you think it is, but with all the things you have to do about purchasing, you haven't bought this mobile home yet.
No.
I think you should consider maybe building a small residence out there for your mother. That doesn't change the zoning. It's perfectly allowed by the code up to 1,000 square foot. It's just something I think you should consider.
Ready, Arthur?
All right, so I have a couple questions. First off, before I get started, I want to ask, Kathy Lincoln, did you want to speak? No? Okay, thank you. First, I want to say hi to my constituent, Craig Furman over there. When I was campaigning, he introduced me to Ned Street, and he and I walked all of Ned Street. And I don't know how to impress upon my fellow council members, Ned Street has been forgotten by code enforcement. And then I'm not singling out code enforcement because we're strapped. So I had Ross do a sweep of Ned Street. He found 7 properties that are out of compliance, and they're grossly out of compliance. This is a neighborhood, and I believe, and Miss Lisa, correct me if I'm wrong, this was Chateau Estates. Chateau Estates was designed with restricted covenants. Now, unfortunately, we've learned, and I've learned watching the other P&Z meetings, that we cannot enforce restricted covenants. That's something an HOA would have to do. But Ned Streets has got problems, and it seems when you walk it that the problems all stem from where the mobile homes were or used to be. There's a couple of mobile homes on Ned Street right now that it looked like the good Lord split in half. There's a couple on Ned Street that look like they started off as an RV and they built around it. And I'm always wondering, if the IRS comes, do they just drive the center of the house out and leave? As a realtor, I can tell you that nothing destroys the comps more than when the neighborhood's not uniform. So if you have a neighborhood that is trending and thought, and some of the people in the audience, when they bought their property, they thought that they were buying, there was not going to be any more mobile homes. And this is an issue where I checked with zoning, and I don't believe Ross is here, correct? We don't have anybody from planning. We do? Could he come out? Hey, Ross, if you could come up. So I understand, Ross, before you get on your sweep of Ned Street and what you found, I understand from their application that this would be the actual first mobile home overlay granted in this neighborhood, that all of the ones that currently exist or have existed are either existing non-conforming, for lack of a better word, grandfathered in. Is that correct?
That's correct.
All right. Could you tell us what y'all found on Ned?
I can. No, I'm good. I had it pulled up ready to go. The guys through a request of Councilman Laughlin asked for a sweep of Ned Street, or Ned. Is it Ned
Ave, I
Street?
think it's an
Avenue?
Ave, yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Or is it 8? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I have 8 properties on here.
Yeah.
4 of which were mobile homes, and 4 of which were stick built. Junk, trash, debris, high grass, harbors for vermin, noxious weeds, things like that.
Now, question for you, for blighted property, if you had an existing non-conforming trailer on your property that needed to be removed, it's technically our responsibility to remove as the parish, but we just don't have the funds for it?
I don't know if it's technically our responsibility. What we do is we go after the property owners to have them remove it, and we bring them, a code enforcement case, trying to get them compliance. If they don't get into compliance, under, our investigation and authority, then we could go another step. We could do the administrative adjudication. Is that right? Is that the right word? Hearing officer, which is our code enforcement internal hearing officer. If that doesn't work, we can go to 22nd. So we have multiple avenues to go to compel the owner to clean up their property or remove structures like that.
And I believe that we do have a couple of properties on Ned Street where the previous owner is deceased, and we're basically kind of stuck in a legal limbo.
So that's the different situation that maybe you were alluding to just now. So working with the council and the administration, we have hired an attorney who's going to go through these properties that have no known or open successions. Then they will begin to investigate those and determine how we can get those structures removed, torn down, or come into compliance through ownership.
Excellent. And Ross, do you have anything else to add on your own?
No. I think you covered it. I'll be right here answering questions when you need me, but I think we'll just follow your lead and
okay, perfect.
Come back.
So my concern, as y'all know, is I'm trying to concentrate on sustainable building and sustainable structure in my district, especially everything below 190 and everything below I-12. So I'm going to make a motion that we override the zoning.
Need a second? Second by Mr. Canulet. Any further discussion? Please vote.
Mr. Lorino? The motion is unanimous with no one absent.
Adoption of resolution.
And will you introduce the resolution on the override? Second by Councilwoman O'Brien. Do we vote on that? The vote, please.
Mr. Toledano? The motion is unanimous with no one absent.
And I will say that the commissioners have asked that we, as a council, try to address some of the mobile home overlays because they're getting inundated with them, and there's not a whole lot of guidance that they have on it. So that's something else I think we could look at. Councilman Davis on the UDC.
No, we're currently doing that as well. Thank you.
All right, moving on to ordinance for adoption. Ordinance calendar number 707. Let me see which one, on this one?
That's that one.
Okay. Ordinance to amend the St. Tammany Parish Code of Ordinance Part 2, Land Development Code, Chapter 130, Unified Development Code, to limit hours of operation for certain uses within the Highway 21 Plan Corridor, Ward 1, District 1. Mr. Dean, there are some cards on this one. So we have a motion and a second. Mr. Williams, or do you have a specific order?
They each get 3 minutes, so it doesn't matter.
Okay.
Well, number one.
Jordan Williams? Okay. You have 3 minutes, sir.
Good evening, Council. This amendment states hours of operation for any commercial establishment abutting residentially zoned property which customarily produces noise at or above 70 decibels as defined in Section 26, 112 shall be limited 7 to 7. And I know what the intent was, and I just want to confirm that the definition in section 26.112, I would like to confirm and state for the record that section 26.113 is how the noise will actually be measured. Just wanted to put that for the record. That was it. I believe that was the intent, but I just wanted to just put it on the record. That was it. Thank you. If you can confirm.
Okay. We have Jerome Smolinsky, but he does not wish to speak. Were you for or against this one, Mr. Smolinsky? Okay, he didn't put it. And then we have Paula Bennett, who was for, also did not wish to speak. Okay. Mr. Dean, you want to?
I made the motion to approve.
Okay.
I think that's all it needs to be said.
Okay, we have a second?
Yeah.
All right. Please, if there are no more comments, please vote.
The motion is unanimous with 2 absent.
Number 2, ordinance calendar number 7212AA, ordinance to amend the 2023 capital improvement budget and capital assets, amendment number 6, coastal restoration capital projects. Ms. Tanner?
I make the motion to approve.
A second. Mr. Canulette, please vote.
The motion is unanimous with 2 absent.
Number 3, ordinance calendar number 7232, ordinance to revise the growth management annexation and revenue sharing agreement between St. Tammany Parish Government Sales Tax District Number 3 and the town of Madisonville, and to provide for other matters in conjunction therewith. Councilman Lorino.
So move, adopt.
Second by Mr. Toledano. Please vote.
The motion is unanimous with 1 absent.
Number 4, ordinance counter number 7233, ordinance amending the official zoning map to reclassify 6.91 acres of land from its present A1 suburban district to an A1A suburban district, Ward 2, District 3. Ms. Casabon,
So move.
seconded by Mr. Davis. Please vote.
The motion is unanimous with no one absent.
Number 5, ordinance counter number 7234, ordinance amending the official zoning map to reclassify, what was that? I guess 1 acre of land from its present A3 suburban district to an ED1 primary education district, Ward 8, District 8. Mr. Canulette. Seconded by Mr. Smith. Please vote.
Mr. Lorino? The motion is unanimous with no one absent.
Number 6, ordinance counter number 7235, ordinance amending the official zoning map to reclassify 2.364 acres of land from its present A1 suburban district to an A2 suburban district, excuse me, Ward 8, District 9. Mr. Smith.
So moved.
Seconded by Councilwoman O'Brien. Please vote. Number 7, ordinance counter number 7236, ordinance to officially name the 20-foot road identified on the attached site plan, Sutter Lane, Ward 1, District 1. Mr. Dean.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Dean, second by Mr. Fitzgerald. Please vote.
Mr. Bender? The motion is unanimous with no one absent.
Number 8, ordinance counter number 7237, ordinance to amend St. Tammany Parish Code of Ordinance, Part 2, Land Development Code, Chapter 130, to add certain uses relative to drive-in restaurants. Mr. Dean.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Dean, seconded by Mr. Lorino. Please vote.
The motion is unanimous with no one absent.
Number 9, ordinance calendar number 7238, ordinance to amend St. Tammany Parish Code of Ordinance, Part 1, Chapter 2, Administration, Article 7, Parish Purchasing Procedures to correct formatting errors. Mr. Canulette, you make that motion? So moved. Moved by Mr. Canulette, second by Mr. Bender. Please vote.
Mr. Fitzgerald? The motion is unanimous with no one absent.
Ordinance counter number 7240, ordinance to declare multiple tax adjudicated properties as surplus property and authorize the parish to proceed with the process for the advertising sale of such adjudicated properties. Mr. Randolph, Mr. Bender, move. Mr. Randolph in a second. All right, please vote.
The motion is unanimous with no one absent.
Ordinance calendar number 7241, ordinance to correct the road and drainage inventory to include Highway 1085 lateral, Ward 1, District 1. Mr. Dean. Moved by Mr. Dean, seconded by Mr. Fitzgerald. Please vote.
The motion is unanimous with no one absent.
Ordinance calendar number 7242, ordinance to amend the 2023 capital improvement budget and capital assets. Amendment number 13, parish-wide drainage capital projects. Mr. Smith. Moved by Mr. Smith, second by Mr. Randolph. Please vote.
The motion is unanimous with no one absent.
Number 13, ordinance calendar number 7243, ordinance to amend the 2023 capital improvement budget and capital assets. Amendment number 14, District 8 capital projects. Mr. Canulette. Moved by Mr. Canulette, seconded by Mr. Randolph. Please vote.
Mr. Bender. The motion is unanimous with no one absent.
Number 14, ordinance calendar number 7244, ordinance to amend the 2023 grants budget. Amendment number 3. Mr. Davis, is that transport ordinance? Can move? Moved by Mr. Davis, seconded by, wait 1 second, Ms. Tanner. Please vote.
The motion is unanimous with no one absent.
Number 15, ordinance calendar number 7245, ordinance to amend the 2023 capital improvement budget and capital assets. Amendment number 15, safe haven facility capital projects. Mr. Davis.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Davis, seconded by Mr. Lorino. Please vote. Number 16, ordinance to amend the 2023 capital improvement budget and capital assets. Amendment number 16, parish-wide roads and drainage capital project. Mr. Dean. Moved by Mr. Dean, seconded by Mr. Toledano. Please vote.
The motion is unanimous with no one absent.
Ordinance calendar number 7246, ordinance to amend the 2023 capital improvement budget and capital assets. Amendment number 17, fishing pier facilities capital projects. Mr. Bender, you want to move for that? Moved by Mr. Bender, seconded by Mr. Smith. Please vote.
The motion is unanimous with no one absent.
Number 18, ordinance calendar number 7248, ordinance to amend the 2023 operating budget. Amendment number 4. Mr. Bender, you want to so moved by Mr. Bender, seconded by Mr. Randolph. Please vote.
Mr. Loughlin. The motion is unanimous with no one absent.
Number 19, ordinance calendar number 7249, ordinance to amend the 2023 capital improvement budget and capital assets. Amendment number 18, sewer water quality capital projects. Mr. Lorino. Moved by Mr. Lorino, seconded by Mr. Davis. Please vote.
The motion is unanimous with no one absent.
Number 20, ordinance calendar number 7250, ordinance to amend the 2023 operating budget. Amendment number 5. Mr. Lorino. Seconded by Ms. Casabon. Please vote.
The motion is unanimous with no one absent.
All right. Number 21, ordinance calendar number 7251, ordinance to impose for 6 months a moratorium on the receipt of subdivisions by the Parish Planning and Zoning Committee for the reestablishment or rezoning of property and or issuance of certain permits by the Parish Department of Planning and Zoning permits for the construction or placement of certain building structures on property in the area bounded to the north by Interstate 12, to the west by Old Todd Road and Transmitter Road, and bounded to the east by North Shore Boulevard and Highway 433 south of I-12, to Bayou Liberty, Jefferson Avenue, Napoleon Avenue, Florian Road, Laurent Road, and to Lake Pontchartrain, being a portion of Parish Council District Number 11. Whew, Mr. Loughlin.
Yes.
We have a number of cards on this one. Do you want them to go?
Let's go with the cards.
Okay. Ms. McDonald?
Good evening. My name's Donna McDonald. I live on Oak Ridge Avenue. I just want to, although this is not my district, I support the efforts that Mr. Loughlin is making with this. The UDC is in the process of being rewritten. He's attempting to develop more sustainable building in his district, and I think that's a project that we should all get behind.
Thank you. Charlotte Collins?
I do live in his district, and I do support this, but I also think, as I'm kind of reading the temperature of how things are going lately, everybody's aware of the flooding, everybody's aware of the financial burdens that are going along with the burdens of flooding and drainage, et cetera. I just think we need a more comprehensive plan, so I really applaud this pause button thing.
Tom Collins?
You may have heard me say the phrase, "not one more drop." We live on Bayou Liberty. It's an historic home. It was there before George Washington was president. I wonder how much longer it's going to be habitable. Check this out. Ascension, East Baton Rouge, East Feliciana, Iberville, Jefferson, Livingston, Orleans, Plaquemine, St. Bernard, St. Charles, St. Helena, St. James, St. John the Baptist, St. Tammany, Tangipahoa, and Washington. Those are all Louisiana parishes that add water to my front yard. Namely, the Pontchartrain Basin backs up Bayou Liberty. There you have it. Oh, did I forget? 4 counties in Mississippi. Councilman Laughlin, thank you so much for putting the brakes on things. Now we have to address this problem from a regional standpoint. Obviously, we can't do it as St. Tammany Parish alone. We have to get with Mississippi. We have to get with all of these other parishes. Is this a federal thing? I urge each of you in your positions as officials of this great parish to work with these other jurisdictions and see what can be done on a regional basis to quit adding water to an overflowing bowl. Sure, they're building levees. Well, that redirects the water somewhere else. Yeah, we're going to put floodgates and flood control structures across the Wrigley's and Chef Mantua long after I'm dead. But since the bowl's already too full, why don't we stop adding water? I am anti-development. Oh my God, that is not a phrase anyone wants to hear. Well, consider my home, which is an island often, all right? It's an island. I have to canoe out to get to my car. If my home is not habitable, what good does it do to increase the tax collections in the parish? What good does it do to add commerce? What good does it do to produce more jobs? We need to live here. Those of us who are legacy residents still need what we came here for, which is our beautiful parish. Let's preserve it, please. Thank you.
We also had Joan Simon, who's for but did not wish to speak, and Laura Dinapolis doesn't wish to speak but also is for this. Do we have any? No, Mr. Laughlin?
Nope. I do need to defer to legal. We did encounter one technical issue on the wording of the moratorium, so I'll have her explain.
Sure. So we took a closer look at the moratorium after it was brought to our attention that some language that was in the whereas section of the proposed moratorium was not copied over into the ordaining section of the moratorium. So made a correction to add the language that this moratorium is going to apply to the re-subdivision and rezoning of property zoned A1 through A8 residential, and also clarified that it would exclude commercial properties and mixed-use properties, and that properties zoned A1 through A8 residential that currently have the proper zoning in place and that do not require re-subdivision are also excluded from this moratorium. So those amendments have been made and posted on the parish website. So I would suggest that Mr. Laughlin make a motion to substitute the revised version, vote on the motion for substitution, and then it would require reintroduction and layover until the June meeting for adoption.
So moved.
So move to substitute. Second by Mr. Bender. All right, so we need to vote on the substitution.
Mr. Taladana. Mr. Laughlin.
I might want to vote on this.
The motion is unanimous with no one absent.
And
Posted this the night of agenda review. Can we deal with this in the special meeting, or do we have to wait till June?
It will just need to lay over for at least 7 days after being reintroduced tonight.
Okay.
So
how
you,
about the publication? Are we good with that?
yes.
The
we should-
publication of on the website?
Yes.
That's good. Okay.
Yes.
It's been posted.
It has been posted for at least 30 days.
Okay.
So we just need a motion to reintroduce in a second.
So moved.
Moved by Laughlin, second by Mr. Bender. All right, we don't need to vote on that one. Okay. Number 22, ordinance calendar number 7252, ordinance to extend a moratorium on receipt of subdivisions by the Parish Planning and Zoning Commission for rezoning a property which would result in increase in the allowable density of a residentially zoned parcel greater than A4 for units per acre, a planned unit development PUD, or a traditional neighborhood development district TND. Mr. Davis, we do have a couple cards. We'll go for those first. Ms. Simon? Or is it Sim? I'm sorry, I can't. Simon,
You're
okay.
Hello, everyone. I just want to thank you for this ordinance. I think it's wise. Several of the other people who spoke to the last ordinance made a lot of the points that I would have made. So to just be brief, we're going through a UDC review right now. There are studies that are being undertaken. At least until those are completed and verified, we need to hold off, and I support this fully. The development in this parish has been rampant and oftentimes very unwise, and I know people are suffering because of it. And I suspect we all know that this is a situation with flooding, erosion, all of the problems we've had here with drainage and infrastructure are not going to get better. Even if we do something about them, we need to kind of pull the brakes on so much development. Thank you so much for doing this.
Ms. McDonald?
I'm just reiterating that the UDC is in the process of being rewritten. It's being reviewed. I believe that these moratoriums should have a sunset on them. However, I do not believe that now is the time for the sunset on this one. And I know that's not always a popular position to take, but that's how I feel about it.
And then we had one other card, Lauren Denopoulos, but she's for it, but does not wish to speak. Councilman Laughlin?
I would just like to have the opportunity to second whatever motion Mr. Davis makes.
Is there any other discussion from the council on this matter? Because I do want to go ahead and make a motion to adopt. Thank you.
I have a brief comment. I just would say, I know that we've talked about the UDC code rewrite, but I think as some of us that have been there have noticed that in a lot of ways, it really hasn't, what's been put forward right now hasn't addressed some of these issues as far as building in certain areas, elevation, impervious requirements to it. So I think that we really do need, and maybe I should have made this announcement more people here, more citizen engagement in that. So we see that what's sort of been presented has been a streamlined version of what we have now, but we really need to do some things in certain areas to make it better. As well as in the coastal zones and in some of the riverine zones as well too, particularly where we have the biggest issues. So I think, I don't really like having, obviously this is only for 3 months and I'm glad that we're doing it every 3 months. I will support it this time, but I really hope that we can get this sort of put to bed and to focus our effort instead of parish-wide on the actual areas, the real areas that we need to focus on, and with the regulations that we need in order to fix some of these problems. Because right now, if we just adopted what was presented, I don't think that's going to fix any of the problems. It may make the process a little bit smoother, but it really didn't didn't address any of those problems, but that's why we're going through the UDC rewrite. And I see some familiar faces, but I would hope everybody would become involved in that. There's a public comment period on that, and it's going to take probably another 6 months, I guess, before we get to that point. But back to here. So, Mr. Bender,
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just to briefly add to what Mr. Airy said, if we go back, and part of our moratorium process is to update on where we stand, because we passed that we give explanations for extending moratoriums, okay? Not asking for that in full right now, but let's remember, and I agree with what Mr. Airy said, I am going to vote for this. I'm going to support it. It's the right thing to do right now. But we do remember that in Mr. Davis and President Cooper's ordinance for introduction and what was adopted, there were studies that are attached to this. So I know Mr. Davis, as chairman of the UDC rewrite, council committee is doing a fine job. He's given me some updates. So I know it's moving along. I just want to make us all conscious of the fact that, yeah, we do need citizen input, but we also need to be saying to ourselves, are we really, really making progress on this? So I'll assume that we are. Just wanted to bring that up. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Davis?
Yes, on that note too, is Mr. Liner still here? Is Mr. Ross still here? Can I have him come up? Give us an update? I know. Well, that's because he's in the back working on the UDC.
Yeah. Mr.
Yeah.
The parish president wants to say.
When this ordinance was introduced last month, we provided a written update on the plans and studies that were underway, giving updates to that as well. So it is in written form, and we do provide it at the introduction phase as opposed to the adoption phase.
Yeah, just for fairness, I wanted to ask Ross a couple of questions, because I know we've been working closer together on this. How's the public input doing?
It could be better. I mean, like all things, we went through the comprehensive plan update. We always strive for more. We have a public meeting, and this is just an example. We hope we get 200 people, but we get 20.
Right.
So, Mr. Councilman Bender, Councilman Airy, whoever else spoke already said more public engagement. As a planner, absolutely, we need more public engagement.
I agree.
But, it's still early in the process. Look, we released this thing on March 31st. We went from, depending on how you print it on Municode, from about 1,200 pages down to maybe 700-800 pages. That's still a lot to read in 30 days and to comprehend and to wrap your mind around. So I expect as time moves on, we get more and more comments, because this is it's a hard read, So, but we expect more public engagement when we hold our meetings at the Planning and Zoning Commission and things like that.
Right, with the Planning and Zoning Commission has already been given all this information.
That's
so
correct.
They should be reviewing it now before they go ahead and make a suggestion to this council.
That's correct.
And on that matter too, the UDC committee that I'm chairing is also going to make additional comments to the same council on this after the Planning and Zoning does.
That's right. So based on advertisement, when it was released, it hasn't even hit the Planning and Zoning Commission yet. Right. So it's going to, for the first time, hit the Planning Commission next week. So the way that we hope this works and the way that should work is public engagement, then comments to the Planning and Zoning Commission, then their comments and recommendations to the UDC Council Committee, and then that committee to the council, to the full council. So you're talking about, I think somebody mentioned about 6 months. Yeah, that's probably about right. By the time we, do all that process.
Okay.
So it's public, Planning and Zoning Commission, Council Committee, and then council. I mean, that's going to be a lot of public input we're going to have moving forward.
I think there is a light at the end of the tunnel, to be honest, on all this. I really do. And I just wish we all need to be just a little patient on this, okay? My biggest problem that I fear is if we did lift this moratorium too early, we'd be right back where we were as far as having. Remember, this is a moratorium just on rezoning. That's it. So we'd have requests to rezone properties back to A4, which would be the highest density we could put right now because we got rid of the A4A in a PUD, but A4 with a PUD. As I did some investigating on this, and I just for my fellow councilmen to know, the PUD overlays that we've done in this parish, 18 PUD overlays were under A4. Only 4 were done under A4A. If you look at the total acreage for PUD overlays on A4, it's 1,124 acres. For the 4 PUD overlays under A4A, which we were always concerned about because we thought that was the highest density per se, is less than 100. This is the information you have to really interpret. So it's really the A4s that were really the highest density PUD overlays in this parish that are causing some of the issues. And I just don't want to go back to that until we have a solution. Thank you.
Motion by Mr. Davis, assume so moved, correct, Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Second by Councilman Laughlin, who called firsties on that one. Please vote.
The motion is unanimous with 1 absent.
All right, stay in your seats. Now we have a few off the floor items, and some of these concern moratoriums that.
Do we have to reopen?
Yeah, I'm just going to say something very briefly. Just a couple of these were some moratoriums that we missed on the council deadline to put them on the agenda that were going to be expired and need to be reintroduced. So that's we're picking up a couple of those. But I'm going to turn the mic over to
Okay.
the vice chair to handle this one.
Thank you. All right, our first item is item,
Take my motion to open up
okay,
off the floor.
I'm sorry. Okay. Motion
To open off the floor.
off the floor, second. Mr. Laughlin. All in favor? Any opposed?
We need a vote.
Please
Make
vote.
sure it's unanimous.
It's old school, I like that.
The motion is unanimous with 1 absent.
Zoning map of St. Tammany Parish to reclassify a certain parcel located on the west side of US Highway 11, north of Brown Village Road, Slidell, which property comprises a total of 5.61 acres of land, more or less, from its present HC3 to an I2, Ward 9, District 14. Mr. Randolph.
I so move. No. I'd like to have a few things to say, if you don't mind.
Okay.
Historically, and many are not aware, but this area that we're talking about is being blessed, in my opinion, with an opportunity that's going to bring so much improved aesthetics, economic development, and also future opportunities in our parish, in the city, in the area. And this company is already operating, and they're just expanding in this area that we're trying to expand. So I like to move on this, and I just need a second.
Okay. Mr. Laughlin, would you like to say something?
I would like to second.
Okay.
That's all we need.
That's all we need. Okay. The next item 3, ordinance to amend the 2023 capital improvement budget and capital assets, amendment number 24, coastal environmental capital projects. This is my project.
So moved.
Okay. I need a second. Mr. Canulette, thank you.
Yes, you do.
Yes, you need a motion in a second.
You gotta have a second.
You just don't need a vote.
Ordinance calendar number 4, ordinance to extend for an additional 6 months the moratorium on the opening of new streets in Angela. Angelic Estates, Ward 3, District 5.
So
Mr.
moved.
Toledano.
So moved, thank you.
Do I have a second? Mr. Davis. Okay. The next ordinance to extend for 6 months the moratorium on the submission of subdivisions of the Parish Planning Council for tentative and/or preliminary and/or approval on property within precincts 102, 112, and the unincorporated portion of precinct MD1 located in St. Tammany Parish Council District Number 4. Mr. Lorena,
So moved, Madam Chair.
do I have a second? Second. Mr. Casavant? The next item is ordinance to extend for 6 months the moratorium on receipt of submission by the Parish Planning and Zoning Commission for the re-subdivision or rezoning of property and/or the issuance of certain permits by the Parish Department of Planning and Development and permits for the construction of placement of certain building structures on property in the area bounded by Interstate 12, Highway 59, Short Road, and Highway 190 being a portion of Little Creek and Ponchatoula Creek, Bayou Tin Lord, and Bayou Chinchuba Drainage Basin, Ward 4, District 5. Mr. Toledano.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Fitzgerald. Last one, ordinance to extend for 6 months the moratorium on receipt of submission by the Parish Planning and Zoning Commission for the re-subdivision or rezoning of property and/or on the issuance of permits by the Parish Department of Planning and Development permits for the construction or replacement of building structure and property within Avery Estates, Ward 8, District 13. Mr. Airy.
Yeah, this is the one that we're trying to buy out those properties, so I would move to introduce.
Second.
Mr. Camulat, second. Okay. Do I hear a motion to adjourn? We're adjourned. Yes. You have one?
Yes, yes.
She has one to bring up verbal off the floor.
Yeah.
We're not adjourned.
Okay.
Hold up, hold up, we got one more.
Hold up. Mr. Loreno.
Thank you.
Mr. Loreno.
Okay. Hey, guys. Johnny. Okay, I'm sorry, I forgot to tell Ms. Tanner, mention to Ms. Tanner, but as we voted for Mr. Bagley for the Tourist Commission, I was looking at the law, and the law actually states that the nominating group will send 2 names in. And I understand what we tried to do is move this forward because we need a quorum. But as I read down, it also said we should have 2 alternates appointed by the council so that they would have a quorum in case they needed it. So what I'd like to do is make a motion to nominate Ms. Lacey Osborne from the St. Tammany Court to fill one of the alternate positions in case someone is not absent and they could have their meeting.
Okay, before we
Go ahead.
make a motion on that, we need to make a motion to add this as an off-the-floor item, have a vote on that, and then we can take up the
Okay,
motion.
I'll make that motion to add it to an off-the-floor item. Thank you.
And we need a vote.
All in favor?
All in favor?
The motion is unanimous with one absent.
And you have my motion?
Motion, do I have a second on
I'll second it.
Second by Mr. Arias. Thank you. Please vote.
Yes.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, it's parish-wide, correct?
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
a motion to suspend the rules too.
I got it. The motion is unanimous with one absent.
That's a motion to suspend the motion.
Yes.
Yes.
So now we need a motion to appoint Mr. Loreno.
I think it was a combined motion to.
Okay.
To suspend and appoint.
So we're okay.
So we're okay?
Yes, we're done.
We're done?
Yes.
Okay, we can adjourn.
Now we're ready.